All right, hello everybody, and welcome to part three of the present perfect tense series that we're having here on YouTube. We are doing a series of classes all about this present perfect tense. If you haven't seen the first two, then you can go after this lesson, after we're finished up here, you can go and review everything that we talked about there. We have looked at how to form the present perfect tense, and we have looked at some really complicated, really complex issues, such as how to tell the difference between the present perfect and the past simple. So a lot of things that a lot of people have problems with. Today, we're going to continue with talking about the present perfect tense by looking at this right here, looking at what is called a bucket list. Now, if you don't know what a bucket list is, that's okay. There's no problem. We're going to learn that today, actually. That's one of the things that we're going to cover. And we're going to learn how to use some complicated parts of the present perfect tense. Okay, so we have people here who are watching on different platforms. So if you are here, if you are in the chat, then please go ahead and type into the chat bar and tell us where you are in the world. I see that we have Raimonda. Raimonda is back for more. Raimonda, I think you've been in every single one of these lessons so far. So congratulations. It's good to see you here. Live from Italy. I think we're talking a little bit about Italy today in some of the slides. Well, we'll see. We'll see. To begin with, we'll go ahead and get started. I think that more people will be coming in as we go, and that's okay. And we're on different platforms as well, so that's okay. So let's get started. Let's begin. The first thing I want to know from you, and you can type in the chat, and I want to know from you is, what do these expressions mean? So we're talking about bucket lists today, but there are two expressions in English, two idioms in English that have to do with a bucket, and they're actually related. So one of them is this here. It says to kick the bucket. To kick the bucket, that's one idiom, one expression in English. And the other one is a bucket list. So as we're coming in, as people are joining us, maybe you can tell me, if you're in the chat, tell me what these terms mean. What does it mean to kick the bucket? And what is a bucket list? What are those two things? Okay, so if you're here, then go ahead and think about it. If you are watching this later on, I know that we have some people who tend to watch these videos later, so after I've finished, then you can pause the video and try to think about the answer before I give it to you. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you now. So the first one, this expression, to kick the bucket, to kick the bucket. This is an expression, it's a bit dark, a bit morbid, but it means to die. All right, so if you ever hear somebody say that someone has kicked the bucket, that is an expression that means to die. Now, it's kind of a softer version. It's kind of a nicer way of saying it, kind of a playful way of saying to die. You would never say that someone kicked the bucket in a serious way. If you're at a funeral, generally, you wouldn't say it in that context. But the expression to kick the bucket means to die. I have no idea where this idiom came from, where the expression comes from. I have no idea, but I do know that it means to die. So if you say kick the bucket, that means that someone has died. Now, the other one here, the bucket list, is related to this. It is the bucket list is the list of things that you want to do, or the list of things to do before you kick the bucket, before you die. Okay, so we have to kick the bucket, meaning to die, but in a playful way. And we have the bucket list, meaning all of the things that you want to do before you die. I see Raimonda says visiting California is on her bucket list. Fantastic, right? So we're going to talk about lots of these things today. Hold that, Raimonda, because we're going to talk about your bucket list in a little bit. But now you know that's what this is. So to kick the bucket, to die. The bucket list is all the things you want to do before you die. All right, so let's get going. So the first thing I want to do now is I want to share with you some of the things that are on my bucket list. So here are some things that are on my bucket list. right? We have them in the pictures. But your job, you have to help me because I forget the names of these things. I know the idea, but I forget the names. So help me to identify what these activities are. Okay, so type it in the chat if you're here live. Type it into the chat, whether you're on Facebook or on YouTube, and tell me what these bucket list items are. If you can identify any of them, tell me what they are. Okay, we see the first one here. It looks like there's a person underwater, someone with someone holding something here. We have some animals in one picture. What are these things? What are these activities? All right, so if you're here live, go ahead and type it into the chat and tell me what any of these activities are. If you know one of them, tell me that one. If you know all of them, tell me all of them. I see one. Yep. Raimundo, you said playing the guitar. Excellent. So we have that second one here, to play. So we'll say to play, to play. We could say the guitar, or an instrument, instrument. Yeah, excellent. So we can. So one of my bucket list items, one thing I want to do before I kick the bucket, before I die, is to learn to play the guitar or learn to play an instrument. Absolutely, very good. Absolutely. Oh, I see another one. It says to go on a safari. Absolutely, very good. So we have this one here is to go on a safari. I like that. To go on a safari. Very good. Notice that we have that expression there, to go on a safari. Normally we say, for example, to go somewhere. Here we have the expression to go on a safari. We have another one. Let's see up at the top here. This one, not a lot of people know this word. When I hear it, they'll often say diving, but there's actually an extra word that we need in there, an extra piece, and that is to go scuba. That's a C there. To go scuba diving. That's what that's called, scuba diving. So I hear a lot of people say diving, but actually we call this one scuba diving. So very good, to go scuba diving. Below that, we have something similar, another type of diving. Maybe if you can tell me what that one is. I'm going to go ahead and write diving here. What kind of diving is this? Let's see. So in the next one, we have someone with some books. What could this one be? With some books. What's on my bucket list related to books? Why does this person have a box of the same book? And then the last one here, we have some vocabulary there as well. All right, so if you didn't get this first one, we can say a type of diving, and we're going to say not scuba diving, but sky diving. Sky diving is what this one's called. Right, so we could say to go, right? So to go skydiving. That's one thing that I want to do. That's on my bucket list. To go skydiving. Then this next one here, we see the person with all the books. We can say maybe this is the author. So we could say maybe to write a book. Write a book. Yeah, why not? Write a book or publish something interesting. And the last one, this is the big one for me. This is my real one. This is the one that I really want. And this one is to go to a restaurant, but a specific type of restaurant. One word we can use here is this. It looks like this. Gourmet. Gourmet. This is a U here. A gourmet restaurant. Now, this is a word that we have stolen from French. We love to steal words in English from other languages. And in French, it's pronounced very differently. In English, we say gourmet. In French, it might be pronounced a little bit differently. It is their word, so I can't tell them how to pronounce it, but that's how we pronounce it in English, is gourmet. It might also be a Michelin star restaurant or just a fancy restaurant or a very, very nice restaurant, we could also say, but gourmet is a good word on that. So to go, let's say to go to a gourmet restaurant. Very good. Be careful with the pronunciation of this word here. I hear lots of people say restaurant or something like this. The word is restaurant. Okay. So these are some of the items on my bucket list: to go scuba diving, to play the guitar, to go on a safari, to go skydiving, to write a book, and to go to a gourmet restaurant, a Michelin star restaurant. Those are mine. But what about you? I'm curious about the things that you want to do. So what is on your bucket list? So write it in the chat. If you are here live, then you can write this in the chat. So I want you to be communicating with me here. It helps me to keep this class going. So write it in the chat, what is on your bucket list. If you are watching this later, then you can write it into the comments, because we all want to see what is on your bucket list. Maybe it will give us ideas for things that we can personally do, that we can add to our own bucket lists. So use this as inspiration, this scuba diving, the guitar and all of this, and tell me what you want to do. What is on your bucket list? I know that Raimonda already said to go to California, or visiting California. That's an excellent one. So visit California. I like that one. California. All right, what else is on your bucket lists? What else is on your bucket lists? Are you like me, where you want to do adventurous things like scuba diving and skydiving? Or maybe you want to create something, or maybe you want to learn how to do something. There are lots of ways that we can go with the bucket list, lots of directions we can go. So think about this, think about what you want to do, think about some things that you can add to your bucket list, and we're going to continue on. If you type them in, then we'll talk about them in a little bit, okay? So what is on your bucket list? Now, when we talk about bucket lists, when we talk about these, there's a specific type of language that we need to use, some structures that we need to use. And one of them is that we can use the present perfect tense, as we've talked about before, with some specific words, so with some specific additions. So one of my bucket list items was to go on a safari, right? So I really want to go on a safari. One day I want to go on a safari. And if we ask these different people if they've ever been on a safari, they can give us 3 very different answers. So we have the first one here, where it says, we have already gone on a safari. So these kids here, they use this word already, right? We have already gone on a safari. Right, so that's the first one. That's the first word we can use when we talk about things that we've done in our bucket lists. The second one is up here, where we have our gentleman in the middle, where he says, I haven't gone on a safari yet. I haven't gone on a safari yet. And we have our last one here. We have this elderly woman, and it says, I still haven't gone on a safari. Right. So we have these different words that we can use when we are talking about our bucket list. And this is our topic for today. This is what I want you to leave this class knowing how to do, is using these words already, yet, and still. And these words, I want you to know how to use them because they can be very complicated. They can be a bit complicated because they don't translate very well to other languages. These filler words like this don't always translate very well. So I'm going to give you some definitions and some rules that you can use to remember how to use them and apply them to your sentences. Okay. I see that we have some people here who have given me their bucket list items. For example, to go to space. That's an excellent one. That's a real. We have an expression. There's a pie in the sky. Those are 2 words there. In the sky. That's like the biggest ideas, the biggest dreams, the biggest things that you want. They're your pie in the sky ideas. So to go to space, I like that one. All right. So we have these expressions already, yet, and still. And let's look at them really fast, and then we're going to practice a little bit. So with the word already, we see our children here. We see 2 kids, and they say, we have already gone on a safari. And we use the word already to show that something happens sooner than expected. If you have a notebook, this is a good thing to write down. Something happens sooner than expected. So we expect that people maybe in their life may go on a safari at some point, right? It's not uncommon for someone to go on a safari at some point in their lives. Maybe when they're older, maybe when they're as a vacation with the whole family. I don't know, but at some point in their lives, it's expected that someone might go on a safari. But to hear children who have done it, we could say they have done it sooner than you might expect. Right? You might expect adults to go on a safari, but for children, it might happen sooner than expected. So we have this expression. We can express that by using the word already. If you have any questions as I go through this, write them in the comments. Please, if you have any questions, write them in the comments, and I'll try to answer them in the moment. So already is something happens sooner than expected, sooner or earlier than expected. Yet, we have this word yet. So now we have our gentleman here, maybe in his 30s. He says, I haven't gone on a safari yet. Now, this is used when something expected has not happened yet. Right? So when he adds the word yet to the end of his sentence, that implies that he expects to go on a safari one day. Right? Maybe he hasn't gone on a safari yet, but in the future he plans to. Right? So that's the difference. If we take the word yet out of the sentence, if we take it out, then we don't express that he wants to go in the future. If he says, I haven't gone on a safari, that just means he hasn't gone. We don't know about the future. We don't know about expectations. But when he says, I haven't gone yet, that means that he expects to go in the future. Okay. So again, we're talking about our expectations. Expect. The last one here is the word still. And we have our elderly woman, and it says, I still haven't gone on a safari. And this one we use to say that something lasts longer than expected. Maybe she expected or she thought she would go on a safari when she was younger. But now, now she's in her 60s and she still hasn't gone on a safari. 60s, 70s, she still hasn't done it. So it's lasted longer than expected. Okay, so we have already where something happens before we expect. We have yet where something that we expect hasn't happened. And we have still where something lasts longer than expected. Now, I know there's a lot to this. You may need to review this after the class today. You may need to come back to this section, and that's okay. No problem. But now we're going to practice. Raimonda, you have written an excellent sentence. It says, I have already gone to Belgium, right? So Raimonda has gone to Belgium earlier or sooner than she expected to go. Perfect. Excellent, Raimonda. Very good. So now we need to practice. So we're going to practice by looking at my friend here. His name is Rick, and he's going through a midlife crisis. What that means, if you don't know what a midlife crisis is, it means that he's reaching his 40s, his 50s, the middle of his life, and some people have a crisis in this moment. They go out and they buy a sports car or something like that because it's the middle of their life and they are having a crisis. So he's going to reflect on his life so far. And we need to help him by using the words still, yet, and already. Now, if you are here live with me, then go ahead and you can type the words into the chat to tell me your answers. If you're watching later, then just think about them and try to get them before I tell you the answer. Okay. So here we go. Let's look at the first one here. Number one, it says, I blank haven't gone on a road trip through the United States. I blank haven't gone on a road trip through the United States, right? Notice that again, we said to go on a safari, and we also have this one to go on a road trip. So different trips, we can always use this expression to go on. So which word can we put in the sentence? Can we say still haven't, yet haven't, or already haven't? You need to tell me the answer. I'll give you a few seconds, and let's see if anybody can get the answer before I give it to you. So I blank haven't gone on a road trip through the United States. Raimonda before said, I still haven't gone to visit my mom in Albania. Excellent. I'm sorry to hear that, but that's an excellent sentence, Raimonda. Very, very good sentence. Fantastic. Sorry for the bad news, though. And now we say, yes, I still haven't gone on a road trip through the United States. Fantastic. Absolutely right. I still haven't gone, right? Maybe he expected to go on one sooner or earlier in his life, but he still hasn't done it. Still hasn't gone. Very nice. All right, here's the next one. The next one says, my wife and I were planning to go to Japan, but we haven't gone blank. Now, notice these may be a bit simple because notice that we have the sentence structure and where they are in the sentence makes a big difference. But that's okay. I'm going to try to make it a little bit more complicated a little bit later. But here we go. My wife and I were planning to go to Japan, but we haven't gone yet. Fantastic. Yes, we haven't gone yet. Now, extra points, extra points, extra points if you can tell me the same sentence, the same idea, but using the word still. So instead of saying yet, if you can change the sentence and use the word still, fantastic. Extra points for you, okay? We're going to move on, though. Here's the next one. Here's the next one. Raimonda, you can relate to this one. It says, next month we are going to Italy. Next month we are going to Italy. I've blank picked up some Italian so I can talk to people there. I've blank picked up some Italian so I can talk to people there. All right, so let's see. We have this word picked up some Italian, this expression here. I've picked up some Italian. And this expression, it means to gain the language, but in a passive way. So when we say pick up a language, pick up a language, pick up a language, the language, to gain the language, to gain the language passively, passively. Right, so not studying, not reading books, not joining English classes like this on YouTube. No, to gain the language passively is to pick up a language. So we have that one to work with. So here we go. It says next month we're going to Italy. I've already picked up some Italian before we go on the trip, so I can talk to people there. Excellent, right? I've already picked up some Italian, so I can talk to people there. Great. All right, here we go. Here's the next one. I haven't met my favorite celebrity, blank, but maybe I will one day. Maybe I will one day, right? So I haven't met my favorite celebrity, but maybe I will one day. What word can we put in here? I haven't met my favorite celebrity. I'll give you just a second. Let's see if we can get it. Extra points if you tell me who your celebrity is. Yes, I haven't met my favorite celebrity. Very nice. Yet. I haven't met my favorite celebrity yet, but maybe I will one day. Fantastic. All right. I can tell that this is easy. Let's step it up a notch. Let's turn it up. So now we have to put two words in there. We have to decide which one we're going to use. So my wife has blank been to London, but I haven't been there. Blank. So we need two words now. Notice here that we say been to London. Normally we say go to a city. So go to London in this case, go to London. But here we say been. Why would we say been in a sentence like this instead of go, right? I be to a city? That doesn't make sense, does it? So why do we say that? Well, in the present perfect tense, when we say have, for some reason, we have decided in English that we're just going to change the word go to being in the present perfect. That's just what we like to do. So you just have to learn that. That's just something we do. All right, let's see. Raimonda says, already and yet. Yes, my wife has already been to London, but I haven't been there yet. Fantastic. Absolutely, right? So we can combine these words in our sentences. Absolutely. My wife has already been, but I haven't been there yet. Excellent. All right. One more. This is the last one, last practice one. This one has a trick to it, but that's okay. So here it says, I have blank started picking up the guitar, but I'm blank pretty bad at it. I have blank started picking up the guitar, but I'm blank pretty bad at it. Now notice here again, we have this word to pick up, but we're using it a bit differently. This is not passive. Right? Before we said to learn a language passively, we use to pick up the language. But the guitar is not the same. When we say to pick up a skill or a hobby, such as the guitar, right? This is a skill or a hobby. When we use this term to pick up a skill, that means to begin learning that skill or to begin doing that hobby, right? So to pick up the guitar means that you begin learning the guitar or you begin practicing the guitar. This works for any skill or any hobby. We can also use pick up. So it's not passive. It just means that you are beginning to learn it. So these phrasal verbs like pick up, they have lots of meaning in English. Don't you just love it? All right, let's see. So it says, I have blank. Let's see. Raimonda says, already. I have already started picking up the guitar. Very good. I have already started picking up the guitar, but I'm still, very nice, still pretty bad at it. I'm still pretty bad at it. Now, notice here, before we talked about this word still, and we said that it's something that happens, something continues longer than expected. Here we don't have the present perfect tense. Notice that we don't have that here, no present perfect, but we still can use the word still, right? We can use it in any tense that we want. We've just been focusing on the present perfect today, right? So, excellent. I've already started picking up the guitar, but I'm still pretty bad at it. All right. Okay, so that's Rick. That's Rick's midlife crisis. That's Rick's bucket list. These are things that he has and has not done in his life. Now I want to know about you, and this will be the last thing that we do today. I want to know about you. So using the words still, yet, and already, now some of you have already done this, but using the words still, yet, and already, I want you to tell me if you have traveled anywhere incredible yet. So what is an incredible place that you have traveled? And as you're writing, I want you to notice that in my question, in the question form, we generally like to use this word yet, right? So have you traveled anywhere incredible is a good sentence. But if I want to show that I expect you to travel somewhere, then I can use the word yet. Now, it's not obligatory. It's not mandatory. You don't have to use the word yet in the question. You can make a question without it, but it adds a little bit of extra meaning to it. So if you are here live, then type into the chat bar. Tell me, have you traveled anywhere incredible yet? I know Raimonda said that she has traveled to Belgium. Sarah has said that she wants to travel to the moon or to space. So have you traveled anywhere incredible yet? Now, if your answer is yes, then you can use one of our words. And if your answer is no, then you also have some options to use these words. So there's no excuse. If you've never traveled, then you still have these words to use. Okay, so I need you to use still, yet, and already to say if you have traveled anywhere incredible. So put that into the chat. If you're watching later, then put this in the comments of the video. All right, so have you traveled anywhere incredible? Here's the second question. The second question, it says this. Have you created something great yet? Have you created something great yet? Have you created something? So that's our second question. There are three questions. The first one, have you traveled anywhere incredible? And the second one, have you created something great? Here, Raimonda says, I haven't traveled to the US incredible yet. So yeah, there are parts of the US that are incredible. We need to change the sentence a little bit, but good. I haven't traveled to the US yet. And Raimonda, that implies, that says that you will travel or you expect to travel to the US in the future. Right? So if that's what you meant, then perfect. The second one here, have you created something great? Have you written a book? Have you built a business? Have you created something? Have you made art? What have you created? This is another common bucket list item, to create something. And the last one here, we're going to use this word again, to pick up. I want to know if you have picked up a skill yet. Have you picked up any great skills yet? For example, I want to pick up the guitar. I want to learn to play the guitar or start learning the guitar. So have you picked up a skill? It could be an instrument. That's one possibility. It could also be a language. Maybe you've picked up a new language. That could also work. That could also work for this, right? But have you picked up a skill yet? So again, we have these three questions. We have the first one, have you traveled anywhere incredible yet? The second one, have you created something great yet? And finally, have you picked up a skill yet? Have you picked up a hobby or picked up a skill? So again, if you are here live, type this into the chat. And if you are not, if you're watching this later, then you can share in the comments, because we all want to know what is on your bucket list. All right. Excellent. For me, if I'm answering these questions, I've traveled to several incredible places. I'd say that my favorite was, I'd say that the most incredible place that I've traveled, that I've already traveled, would be probably different parts of Asia, I'd say. So maybe we'll say the Philippines. That was a really cool one, or Thailand. Thailand and the Philippines. The Philippines. I hope I spelled this right. I hope I spell it right. I can't remember if it's two L's or two P's. But yeah, so that would be my answer there. If you have you created anything great yet? Or have you created something great yet? And have you picked up a skill yet? Raimonda has a very good sentence. It says, "I haven't picked. I haven't. It says I haven't picked up my English skills yet." All right, excellent sentence, Raimonda. Well, that's what we're working on. So it's good that you're coming to these classes. That's an excellent sentence there, and that's something that we're working on. So very good. I haven't picked up my skills yet. Fantastic. All right. Very good. So if you haven't typed this into the chat and you want to share, then you can always put this in the comments later. But very quickly, let's just review exactly what we have covered today. All right, so remember that what we've covered today, we have these expressions, already, yet, and still, that we can use with the present perfect tense. We said already is when something happens sooner than expected. It happens before we expect it to happen. Yet is when we expect something and it has not happened, right? So we expect it in the future though. So I haven't, so when Raimonda says, I haven't picked up my English skills, my English speaking skills yet, right? When Raimonda says this, that implies that she will in the future. And with still, we show that something lasts longer than we expect it to last, right? So very good. If you have any questions, then you can always post them as a comment to this video and I will see it later. But for now, we'll go ahead and get to the end of this lesson here. And I just want to remind you that this was part 3 of our present perfect series, the present perfect class series. The next one is going to be, the next class in this series is going to be next Monday, and it will complete the present perfect tense. It will be part 4. And the question is, what have you been up to? So if you want to review this class, you can watch it right here on YouTube, and you can see the other classes in the present perfect tense series so that you can be ready for this final one next Monday. All right. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments to this video. I'll be happy to respond, happy to see them. And if you just want to share the bucket list items that you forgot about while we were in this class, then you can do it there as well. All right. So if there are no questions about the English of this session or anything like that, then I'll go ahead and finish up now, and I'll see you all next time. All right. Thank you for coming.